You know what most people get wrong about hustle? They think it is just about working endlessly, burning themselves out, proving to the world that they can push harder than anyone else. But real hustle, the kind that actually changes your life, is not about chaos or exhaustion. It is about clarity. When you hustle hard, you are not just doing everything. You are doing the things that matter. You are learning to say no to the distractions that feel urgent, but do not change anything in the long run. You are teaching yourself to keep moving even when no one is watching, even when no one is cheering you on. Because the truth is, most people will not understand your hustle until it pays off. Think about it. Every person you admire today, every success story that looks effortless from the outside, was once someone grinding in silence, feeling invisible, questioning whether the sacrifice was worth it. And what separates them from the people who quit is not talent, not luck, but the decision to keep showing up. Hustle is not glamorous, but it is magnetic. It creates momentum, and momentum pulls opportunities towards you. If you want something extraordinary, you cannot wait for motivation to show up every morning. Hustle teaches you to act even when you feel like doing nothing. That is the difference between wishing for a dream and building it. Most people wait to feel ready. Hustlers know readiness is a myth. You act, and then you grow into the person who is ready. So the next time you feel like slowing down, remind yourself, someone out there with less talent, fewer resources, and more obstacles is pushing forward anyway. And the only question you have to answer is, hustle hard, not because it is easy, not because it looks good on social media, but because the life you want is waiting on the other side of your consistency. Your future is not asking for perfection. It is asking for persistence. And that, my friend, is what hustle is all about. When people hear the word hustle, most of them picture long nights, endless coffee, stress, and a calendar so full it feels like there is no room to breathe. They think hustle means being busy every second of every day, racing against the clock, and wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor. But here is the truth. That is not hustle. That is chaos. And chaos will not get you anywhere except burned out, bitter, and resentful of the very dream you started with. Real hustle is not about how much you can cram into a day. It is about how clearly you can see where you are going and how intentionally you can move toward it. Hustle is not measured by how tired you are at the end of the night. Hustle is measured by whether you took a step in the right direction. No matter how small, that moved you closer to your goal. Oh. Think of it like this. Imagine two people running in opposite directions. One is sprinting at full speed, pouring sweat, burning energy. The other is jogging at a steady pace, but they are heading exactly toward the finish line. At the end of the day, who is really hustling harder? It is not the one who looks busiest. It is the one who is clear about the destination. Because clarity turns effort into progress. Chaos, on the other hand, tricks you. It makes you feel productive. You can spend 12 hours answering emails, jumping between random projects and saying yes to everything that comes your way. And by the end of the day, you collapse on the couch, telling yourself, I worked so hard today. But then weeks go by and nothing in your life has changed. Has changed. You are still in the same place, just more tired than before. That is not hustle. That is motion without direction. Clarity asks a different question. What actually matters today? What are the 2 or 3 things that, if you did them consistently, would change the game for you in 6 months or a year? That is the core of hustle, cutting through the noise to get to the signal. If your dream is to build a business, then hustle is not about tweaking your logo 100 times or scrolling through social media to see what competitors are doing. Hustle is sitting down, making sales calls, building relationships, and creating something that actually helps people. And here is the beauty of clarity. It simplifies your life. Instead of trying to do everything, you focus on the essential few. Suddenly you have energy again. You are not scattered because you know what to say no to. You stop letting people's urgency control schedule your schedule. You stop chasing every shiny distraction. You become ruthless with your time. Not because you want to be cold or harsh, but because you respect your vision too much to waste energy on what does not matter. That is why some people who look like they are working less than everyone else actually achieve 10 times more. They are not superheroes. They just understand that hustle is not about chaos. It is about clarity. They do not waste years running in circles. They focus on the straight line that leads directly to their goal. And this is where most people struggle, because chaos feels satisfying in the moment. It feels like progress. But clarity demands patience, discipline, and the courage to ignore the noise, lies. Clarity forces you to slow down, think deeply, and ask, what do I really want? And what is the smartest step I can take right now to get there? That is harder than just being busy. But it is also the reason clarity wins every time. So if you want to hustle hard, do not confuse busyness with effectiveness. Ask yourself daily, am I moving forward or am I just moving? The people who build extraordinary lives are not the ones who did the most. They are the ones who did what mattered most. That is what real hustle looks like. Not chaos, but clarity. When most people think about success, they imagine a surge of motivation. They picture themselves waking up one morning, suddenly inspired, feeling unstoppable, ready to conquer the world. They believe success is about being in that perfect emotional state, where everything feels easy because they are fired up. But here is the problem. Motivation is temporary. It is like a spark. It burns bright for a moment, then fades. If you depend on motivation to succeed, you will never build anything that lasts. Consistency, on the other hand, is not glamorous. It is not fireworks or adrenaline. It is quiet. It is steady. It is sometimes even boring, but consistency is what builds success, brick by brick. It is the daily act of showing up when the excitement has worn off. It is keeping your promises to yourself on the days you do not feel like it. And that is where greatness is born, not in the bursts of energy, but in the steady rhythm of discipline. Think about it. Anyone can go to the gym once when they are feeling inspired. Anyone can eat healthy for a week after watching a motivational video. Anyone can pour their energy into a new business idea for a month. But consistency is doing it again and again, long after the initial excitement is gone. And that is why so few people succeed, because they mistake motivation for commitment. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Consistency is a decision. It is something you do regardless of how you feel. When you decide to be consistent, you take your emotions out of the driver's seat. You stop waiting to feel like it, because the truth is, most of the time you will not feel like it. Success is built on the days when you want to quit, but you keep going anyway. Think of the most successful people in any field: athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders. Do you think they wake up every single day exploding with motivation? Of course not. They are human. They feel tired. They feel doubt. They feel lazy sometimes. But the difference is, they do not let those feelings decide their future. They understand that consistency compounds. One workout might not change your body. 1 hour of practice might not transform your skills. One small act of discipline might feel insignificant. But do it every day, and suddenly you have momentum. And momentum is unstoppable. Consistency also builds something motivation never can. Trust in yourself. Every time you show up, even when you do not want to, you send yourself a message. I can count on me. That self-trust becomes confidence. It becomes power. Because deep down, you know you are someone who follows through. And when you believe in yourself like that, there is nothing you cannot do. The trap is this: people wait. They wait to feel inspired. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect energy. But waiting is how dreams die. Consistency does not wait. Consistency acts. Even if it is small, even if it is imperfect, it is movement. And that movement, done day after day, builds into something extraordinary. Let me put it another way. Motivation is like the wind. It changes direction all the time. Consistency is like rowing. You may not have the wind on your side, but if you keep rowing, you will get where you want to go, where you want to go. You may go slower than you hoped. You may get tired along the way, but you will arrive. And when you do, it will not be because you were lucky enough to have the wind at your back. It will be because you refuse to stop rowing. So if you truly want success, stop obsessing over motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment when you feel ready. Start building consistency into your life. Create routines. Make small promises to yourself and keep them. Focus less on intensity and more on repetition, because success is not about how fired up you are today. It is about whether you are still doing the work 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now. Motivation might get you started, but consistency is what gets you across the finish line. And when you look back, you will realize it was never about how inspired you felt. It was about how committed you were to keep showing up no matter what. That is the secret. Success does not belong to the most motivated. It belongs to the most consistent, One of the biggest mistakes people make when they decide to hustle is this. They confuse activity with progress. They think the harder they work, the more successful they will be. So they pack their schedule, fill every hour with tasks, and chase every opportunity that comes their way. But here is the truth. Hustle does not mean doing everything. Hustle means doing what matters. We live in a culture that glorifies busyness. People brag about how little sleep they get, how many projects they are juggling, how many hours they spend grinding. It looks impressive from the outside. But inside, most of these people feel exhausted, scattered, and stuck. Because busyness is not the same as productivity. You can spend your whole day working hard and still not move an inch closer to your dream. Real hustle is not about how much you do. It is about what you choose to do. It is about identifying the handful of actions that actually move the needle in your life and doubling down on those. Everything else, it is noise. It is distraction dressed up as progress. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone wants to start a business. They spend weeks designing the perfect logo, tweaking the colors on their website, and printing fancy business cards. It looks like they are hustling, they are busy every day. But are they really moving closer to success? Not really, because logos and business cards do not create income. Customers do, recruit, sales do, value does. And those things only happen when you focus on the actions that matter, making offers, reaching out to people, solving real problems. That is the difference between everything and what matters. Everything will keep you busy. What matters will build your future. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Doing what matters often feels harder. It is the phone call you are afraid to make, the project you keep delaying because you know it will stretch you, the skill you need to practice even though it feels uncomfortable. These are not easy tasks, but they are the ones that change your life. Hustle is about having the courage to prioritize those actions even when the easier tasks are begging for your attention. And here is where clarity comes in again. To hustle effectively, you need to know what your real priorities are. You need to step back and ask yourself, if I only accomplished one or two things today, what would actually make a difference 6 months from now? When you answer that question honestly, you realize that most of what fills your to-do list is just noise. It keeps you busy, but it does not bring you closer to your goal. Doing what matters also requires discipline to say no. That is something most people struggle with. They want to please everyone. They want to seize every opportunity, and they want to feel productive all the time. But saying yes to everything is the fastest way to burn out and the surest way to stay average. Successful people are not the ones who do the most. They are the ones who do the right things, and they protect their time ruthlessly. Think about your own life right now. How much of your time is spent on things that actually move you forward, and how much of it is spent on tasks that just keep you busy? If you are honest, you will see the gap. And that gap explains why so many people hustle for years and never break through. They are busy, but they are not effective, and they are not effective. Hustle means you are willing to do the uncomfortable work, the focused work, the work that matters most. It means you stop measuring success by how many hours you put in and start measuring it by the results you create. It means you stop running in circles and start walking in a straight line toward your vision. And here is the irony. When you stop trying to do everything, you actually get more done because your energy is no longer scattered. Your effort is no longer wasted. Every ounce of hustle is going toward the things that count. And over time, that focused effort compounds into extraordinary results. So remember this, hustle is not about cramming your life full of tasks. It is not about looking busy. It is not about impressing people with how hard you are working. Hustle is about making progress, and progress only comes from doing what matters most, again and again. That is the kind of hustle that changes lives. Not everything, just what matters. One of the hardest truths about hustling is this. When you are in the middle of the grind, almost no one will notice. You will wake up early, stay up late, pour your energy into your dream, and it will feel like the world is blind to your effort. World is blind to your effort. You will make sacrifices, skipping nights out, saying no to distractions, working while others are relaxing, and people around you might not understand. In fact, some will even doubt you, criticize you, or laugh at you. That is the reality of the grind. Most people will not see it. They will not see the long nights where you keep going, even though you are tired. They will not see the small wins that keep you alive when everything feels like it is moving too slowly. They will not see the hours of practice, the failures, the setbacks, the moments where you almost quit but chose to keep going. All they will see is the success at the end. They will see the result, not the process. Think about the people you admire most. The athletes, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the creators. From the outside, their success looks like it appeared overnight. People say, "Oh, they're so lucky," or "they just have talent." But what those same people do not see are the years of work that happened behind the scenes. The sweat, the rejection, the trial and error, the invisible grind. This is why hustle requires faith. You have to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. You have to work as though the world is watching, even when it is not. You have to be willing to put in effort today, knowing that the reward might not show up for months or even years. That is why so many people give up. They are addicted to instant validation. They want to be seen, recognized, applauded right away. And when they are not, they quit. But hustlers, real hustlers, know that recognition comes later. First comes the grind, and here is the beautiful part. When the payoff does come, it is loud. Suddenly, the same people who doubted you will say, "I always knew you could do it." The same people who ignored you will suddenly pay attention. The same ones who thought you were wasting your time will ask how you did it, and you will know the truth. You will know it was the countless unseen hours of effort that built the success they now admire, but you cannot wait for their approval. You cannot live for their applause. If you do, you will never last through the grind. You have to learn to clap for yourself when no one else does, when no one else does. You have to celebrate the small wins in private, because those are the building blocks of the big wins that the world will eventually notice. Let me tell you this, your grind is like planting seeds. When you put a seed in the ground, no one sees what is happening underneath. For weeks, maybe months, there is no sign of growth. People might look at the soil and think nothing is happening, but underground, the roots are forming. The foundation is being built, and then, one day, a tiny sprout breaks through the surface. Suddenly, everyone notices. They say, "Oh wow, where did that come from?" But it came from the hidden grind that no one saw. That is your hustle. The invisible work you are doing now is laying the roots for something extraordinary. Even if the world does not notice yet, keep going, because one day they will. When they do, it will not be because of luck. It will be because of your grind. So do not get discouraged if people do not see your effort. Do not let their silence make you doubt your path. Remember, most people only clap when the music gets loud. But your job is to keep playing even in the quiet. Because when the moment finally comes, when your grind pays off, the same silence you once hated will be replaced by applause, so loud it will echo through your life. Until then, keep hustling. Even if no one sees it, even if no one believes. Because eventually they will. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. When you have it, everything feels easier. Doors open. Opportunities flow. Your confidence rises. You start to feel unstoppable, like success is pulling you forward instead of you having to drag yourself toward it. But momentum does not appear out of nowhere. It is not magic. Momentum is created by persistent action, by showing up again and again, until the weight of your consistency begins to work in your favor. Think about pushing a heavy car. At first, it feels impossible. You lean into it with everything you have, but the car barely moves an inch. Most people quit right there. They think, "This is too hard. Nothing is happening." But if you keep pushing, if you refuse to stop, suddenly the car begins to roll. Slowly at first, then faster, then faster, then faster still. And once it is moving, it takes less effort to keep it going. That is momentum. Your hustle works the same way. At the beginning, everything feels heavy. You are putting in effort, but not seeing results. You are waking up early, staying disciplined, making sacrifices, and the payoff feels invisible. That is the moment where most people give up. They do not realize that persistent action is what builds the push that eventually makes success inevitable. Every small action counts. Every day you show up, even in a tiny way, you are pushing that car. You are creating invisible progress. And over time, those small actions stack. They compound. What once felt impossible begins to feel natural. What once felt exhausting starts to feel energizing. And that is when momentum takes over. The mistake people make is waiting for momentum to show up before they act. They want to feel inspired first. They want results to come quickly so they have proof it is working. But that is not how it works. Action comes first. Momentum comes second. You cannot wait to feel like moving. You move and then the feeling comes. Think about a runner. The hardest part of the run is the first few steps. Their body resists, their lungs fight back, their legs feel heavy. But after a few minutes, their body finds rhythm. Their stride gets easier. They enter the flow. That flow is momentum, but it only comes after persistent action. And here is the thing about momentum. It is fragile at first. You have to protect it. If you stop too soon, you lose the rhythm. If you quit for long stretches, you have to start the push all over again. That is why persistence is so important. Even if you cannot do a lot, do something. Even if it is small, keep the chain alive. Consistency builds persistence, and persistence builds momentum. Ciao. Momentum also changes how others see you. At first, people may not notice your efforts. But once you start moving with energy, once opportunities start aligning, people begin to pay attention. They see your consistency, they see your results, and suddenly they want to be part of what you are building. That is the magnetic power of momentum. It attracts support, resources, and possibilities that were not there when you were standing still. But let me warn you, the beginning will always feel unfair. You will work more than you are rewarded. You will give more than you get back. You will sweat for results that seem invisible. That is normal. That is the price of building momentum. You are loading the spring. You are charging the battery. Binary tick. And when the energy finally releases, the payoff will be greater than you imagined. So the question is not, how do I get motivated? The question is, can I stay persistent long enough to create momentum? Because once momentum is on your side, it feels like the universe is helping you. But until then, you have to help yourself. Keep pushing, keep acting, keep showing up, even when it feels pointless, because every action is a brick. And one day you will look up and realize you have built something unshakable. Momentum is not luck. It is not magic. It is the reward for persistence. And if you keep moving, if you refuse to stop, momentum will carry you further than you ever thought possible. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is this: I'll start when I'm ready. We say it when we want to chase a dream, launch a business, change our career, or step into a new chapter of our life. It sounds responsible. It sounds smart. But here is the truth. Readiness is a myth. You will never feel completely ready. And if you wait for that feeling, you will wait forever. Think about it. Was anyone truly ready the first time they became a parent? Were they perfectly prepared, perfectly confident, perfectly knowledgeable? No, they learned by doing. They grew into the role. They made mistakes, figured things out, and became ready along the way. Life works the same way with everything worth pursuing. The problem is we imagine readiness as a moment. A day when the fear disappears, the doubt vanishes, and we finally feel strong enough. But that day never comes. The fear does not vanish. It just shrinks as you act in spite of it. Confidence does not arrive before the action. It is built through the action. The only way to feel ready is to start when you don't. This is why so many dreams die before they ever begin. People wait. They say, I need more money. I need more experience. I need more time. I need more time. But what they really mean is, I'm afraid. And here is the harsh truth. Fear never goes away. You just learn to move with it. Let's make this practical. Imagine you want to start speaking in public. You spend months reading books on communication, watching videos, and practicing in the mirror. But eventually, the only thing that will make you a speaker is speaking. Standing on a stage, heart pounding, hands shaking, and doing it badly the first time. Then improving again. That is how you grow. That is how you become ready. Not by preparing forever, but by starting before you feel prepared. Think about the people you admire, the entrepreneurs, the athletes, the leaders. Do you think they had it all figured out at the beginning? Absolutely not. They jumped in messy. They started scared. They figured it out along the way. The difference between them and everyone else is not that they had less fear. It is that they acted anyway. Here is the irony. Waiting for readiness feels safe, but it is the riskiest choice of all. Because while you wait, time passes. Opportunities pass. Someone else who is less prepared but more courageous will take the chance you were waiting on. And you will look back years later and realize you lost not because you were incapable, but because you were waiting to feel ready. Readiness is not a state of being. It is a result of action. You do the thing, and then you grow into the person who can handle it. You start small, you stumble, you adjust, and you get stronger. Every step makes you more capable. Every mistake makes you wiser. Every action builds readiness. So the question is not, am I ready? The question is, am I willing to start before I feel ready? That one choice separates the dreamers from the doers. Because the truth is, the perfect moment will never come. The stars will never align. The conditions will never be flawless. The only perfect time is now. And here is the beautiful part. Once you take that first step, you realize you are stronger than you thought. You realize you can handle more than you imagined. You realize that the only thing holding you back was the belief that you had to be ready first. So stop waiting. Stop telling yourself the story that you need more time, more confidence, more certainty. Start before you are ready. Jump into the unknown. Trust that you will figure it out as you go, because you will. That is how growth works. Readiness is not a starting point. It is the finish line of action, and the sooner you act, the sooner you will feel ready. There are two kinds of people in this world, wishers and builders. Wishers spend their lives talking about what they want. They dream out loud, they make lists. They say, one day, I'll do this. One day I'll have that. Builders, on the other hand, take those same dreams and turn them into reality. The difference between the two is not luck, not talent, not even opportunity. The difference is hustle. Wishers get stuck in the someday mind. They tell themselves they'll start when they have more time, when the conditions are right, when someone finally gives them permission. But someday never comes. Builders know this, so they don't wait. They move, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect. They start laying bricks today. And brick by brick, they build the life that others only wish for. Here's the truth. Wishing feels good, but it changes nothing. Hustling might feel uncomfortable, but it changes everything. Wishing is safe. It requires no risk, no failure, no sacrifice. Hustling demands courage. It demands that you step into the unknown, that you face rejection, that you keep going when it would be easier to stop. That is why so few people build, because it is easier to stay a wisher. But hustle is what separates the two. Hustle is the bridge between the life you talk about and the life you actually live. Every time you act, every time you follow through, every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are crossing that bridge. Think about it. How many people say they want to get in shape, but never go to the gym? How many people say they want to write a book, but never sit down to write a single page? How many people say they want to start a business, but never make the first call? The world is full of wishers, but the world belongs to builders. The difference lies in daily choices. Wishers focus on the outcome. They fantasize about the result, the body, the money, the recognition. Builders focus on the process. They know success is not about one giant leap. It is about 1,000 small steps taken consistently. That is hustle. Not glamorous, not Instagram worthy, but real progress. And here's something powerful. When you hustle, you stop being dependent on chance. Wishers are always waiting for luck, waiting for the right person, the right timing, the right break. Builders create their own luck by hustling. They show up so often, try so many times, that eventually opportunity collides with their preparation. What looks like luck from the outside is actually hustle from the inside. Of course, hustling is hard. It will test your patience. It will make you question yourself. It will demand sacrifices that most people are unwilling to make. But that's exactly the point. Hustle acts as a filter. It separates the serious from the casual. It separates the ones who say they want it from the ones who prove they want it. And when the results finally come, they're worth it. Because wishers are left with regret. They look back and say, I always wanted to do that. I could have done that. I should have done that. Builders look back and say, I did that. And no matter how big or small the achievement, that ownership, that pride is priceless. So ask yourself, are you a wisher or a builder? Do you talk about the life you want, or are you hustling to create it? Do you wait for the perfect conditions, or do you start where you are with what you have? Do you keep dreaming, or do you start building? You start building. Because hustle is not just about working hard. It is about choosing to cross the line from wishing to building. And once you cross that line, everything changes. You stop living in fantasy and you start living in reality. You stop hoping and you start creating. Hustle separates the wishers from the builders. And in the end, the builders are the ones who write the story the world remembers. When people look at someone successful, they love to explain it away. They say, oh, they're just talented. Or, they just got lucky. Or they had the right connections. But what people don't talk about enough is persistence. Because persistence, more than talent, more than luck, more than excuses, is the real engine of success. Talent is great, but it is not enough. We've all met someone who was naturally gifted but never lived up to their potential. Why? because they gave up when it got hard. Talent may give you a head start, but persistence is what keeps you in the race. You can have all the natural ability in the world, but if you're not willing to persist when things get tough, you'll lose to someone who is less talented but more determined every single time. Luck is nice, but it is unpredictable. You can't control it. You can't schedule it. And you definitely can't build your future on it. Luck might give you an opportunity, but persistence decides whether you're ready to take it and whether you can hold on to it. Luck is the door opening. Persistence is walking through that door again and again until you reach the other side. Excuses, on the other hand, are what people use to cover up the absence of persistence. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't know the right people. These excuses sound convincing, but they are really just walls people build to protect themselves from discomfort. Persistence tears those walls down. Persistence says, I'll find the time. I'll find the resources. I'll figure it out. Persistence makes a way where excuses build a block. Here's the truth. Persistence is not glamorous. It's not shiny. It's often repetitive and boring. It looks like showing up every day, even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't see immediate results. Persistence is what keeps you moving forward inch by inch when progress feels invisible. And then, one day, that persistence adds up to something extraordinary. Think about the most iconic success stories. The writer who was rejected by dozens of publishers before finally breaking through. The athlete who practiced thousands of hours before anyone even knew their name. The entrepreneur who failed business after business before finally building the one that worked. What do they all have in common? Not luck, not talent alone. Persistence. Persistence builds resilience. Every time you push through failure, every time you keep going despite rejection, you strengthen your ability to endure. You become tougher. You stop seeing setbacks as stop signs and start seeing them as stepping stones. And when you develop that kind of persistence, nothing, not talent gaps, not bad luck, not excuses, can stop you. Here's a story to think about. Imagine two people. One is naturally talented. Things come easy to them. They don't have to work as hard, at least in the beginning. The other person is average, no special skills, no big advantages, but they are persistent. They keep showing up. They keep practicing. They keep failing forward. Over time, guess who wins? The persistent one. Because while talent peaks early, persistence compounds forever. This is the mindset shift you need. Stop overvaluing talent, stop waiting on luck, and stop believing your own excuses. None of those will build your dream. Persistence will. Persistence is about being so stubborn with your vision that nothing, no rejection, no failure, no obstacle can convince you to quit. And here's the payoff. When you persist long enough, talent grows, you become better. When you persist long enough, luck finds you, opportunities appear. When you persist long enough, excuses dissolve because you've proven to yourself that you don't need perfect conditions to move forward. You just need persistence. So ask yourself, how badly do you want it? Do you want it enough to keep going when it feels like nothing is working? Do you want it enough to push past rejection, past failure, past the excuses that would stop someone else? Because that's the real test. At the end of the day, success does not belong to the most talented. It does not belong to the luckiest. It belongs to the most persistent. Oh, the ones who keep showing up, the ones who refuse to quit, the ones who know that persistence beats talent, luck, and excuses every single time. In the end, hustle is not about chaos, not about motivation, not about doing everything. It is about clarity, consistency, focus, and persistence. It is about showing up when no one is watching, taking action before you feel ready, and pushing long enough to create the momentum that carries you forward. Hustle is what separates the dreamers from the doers, the wishers from the builders. And if you can keep going, through fear, through doubt, through silence, you will discover that success is not reserved for the talented or the lucky. It is reserved for the relentless. So hustle hard, because the life you want is not built in a moment of inspiration. It is built in the daily grind of persistence, and it belongs to those who refuse to quit.